Hi everyone, welcome to lesson 6. In this lesson, we're looking at the third speakers. So, this is the online course debate for secondary schools powered by HIVE Educators, and this is in partnership with the Kuala Terengganu District Education Department. Okay, so let's get straight into it for lesson 6. Okay, so for lesson 6, we're looking at 5 elements. First, what do you do before you start? Introduce the team line, rebut arguments, summarize key arguments, and end strong. The most important thing as a third speaker, how do you end strong? Okay, let's get straight into it. So, now before you start, you need to listen carefully during the team introduction to understand the key points discussed. Okay, if you listen carefully to the first speaker, so you are the third speaker, right? So, let's say it doesn't matter if you're opposition or government, okay? So, when you listen to government 1 or opposition 1, make sure you understand what are the key words that are being said and what are the key points that will be discussed. Now, this is important because if you have an idea what is going to be discussed, then you can start predicting and start coming out with your own ideas to counter those arguments. And as a third speaker, sometimes the POI thing falls onto you, but that's not really the case. Every speakers will need to give a POI at least once or twice, but of course as the third speaker you are expected to give a POI. Okay, so listen carefully. Okay, focus on the overview of the main themes. So what are the main themes are being discussed? Okay, the main themes, this is important. Okay, and then know the team line of both own and opposing team, because you need to know what's the team line here. I mean, the team line is pretty straightforward, but you need to know because you're going to use that, and you're going to use that in your own speech, and it doesn't matter you will use you say you're the government, you're going to use the opposition's team line and say that their team line is not strong, so you need to know what they're saying. Right. So, as always, you need to introduce your team line, a line which illustrates your argument. Now, if you have listened to lesson 3, 4, and 5, by now you should have a clear idea what is a team line. Okay, basically the core belief, the core concept, the core idea, basically the core is the asas. Okay, the core idea of your team, of your team's overall argument. Okay, so you just have to know what is this. Okay, so of course team lines are used to make it clear to the audience and to strengthen your team's overall argument. Okay, I'm going to just skip team line because we have done it so many times, and if you watched the other videos you would have understand. How do you rebut your arguments? Now, as the third speaker is a bit different. First, you need to outline the key issues within the rebut, actually, not debut. Okay, within the rebut. So you need to understand the key issues. What are the key issues being said by speaker 1, speaker 2, of both sides? Say this government and say this opposition. Okay, you need to know what's going on here, both here. Okay, what are these 4 speakers have said? What are the key issues that they have discussed? Okay, so outline that. Okay, most of them you can make a prediction, because if the third speaker, if you have done your research, you kind of have an idea what are the points are, so you can already make a prediction. Okay, so then you attack the arguments made by the opposition. Okay, so what is the opposing team saying? Okay, it doesn't matter if you're government opposition, if opposition government, doesn't matter, but what are the so you need to attack and break their arguments down. Okay, you want to break down their arguments. This is important. How do you break down the arguments? Okay, how do you do it? Okay, so you try to find evidence, logic, and reasons to prove the opposition is wrong. Okay, so use evidence, logic. Okay, so maybe they said something which is not right, and they try to mislead you with some fancy words. Go back to the evidence. Is it true? Is this what is being said? Okay, how do you summarize key arguments? So now, as the speaker, you are summarizing key arguments. You need to keep this in mind. Okay, because throughout the debate you are looking at the key arguments. So so like I said earlier, we go back here, these 4 speakers, what they have said. If you are opposition, then it will be 5 speakers. You need to summarize what they have said, emphasize on the team roles. Okay, for example, the prime minister said A, the deputy prime minister said B. Okay, opposition leader of opposition, or let's just say oppo leader. Okay, let's go here. Oh my god. Okay, so let's say, okay, you know what, this is so, let's do this slowly a bit. Okay, because this is important. As the third speaker, I think this is the key for you to win, and if you are able to do this, you can do it really. You can tilt it to your side to win. Okay, So what did government one say? So G1, deputy. So not let's not use G1, okay? Because that's government one. You have to use the correct terms, okay? And if you use the correct terms, then you look more intellectual, okay? The prime minister said A. Oppo leader said X. Deputy prime minister said B. Oppo second speaker said Y. Now, yes, this is basically summarizing, okay? You kind of like summarize what they have said, but that is not enough. You need to say how X is better than A. How the X argument is better than. Let's see your opposition right now, okay? How the X argument is better than A, and how is this Y argument is better than B, okay? And then you can even say how this Y argument actually shows X argument here does not hold merit. It is not true because that is not the case, okay? And the second speaker of the opposition has already said so, and they have given some evidence, examples, and logic, and some really strong rationals. So again, summarize what they have said, and then by doing that you can outline your team case. And then after you have done a summary of what they have said, you re-emphasize your own team points. Then you say back, okay, so X and Y are most relevant to the motion today, while arguments A and B does not hold merit. It is not really true, and they are misleading you. You have a very strong third speaker if you're able to do that, okay? You will be a very strong third speaker if you're able to summarize within the short period of time and attack those points quite well, okay? You need to end very strong. As the third speaker, you have a lot of say. I have seen, but the problem is sometimes I see in many debate schools, in many schools, okay, in many debates, in many schools, I've seen the debaters. You have a very strong third speaker, but then you have a not so good first and second speaker. It's not good enough. You might not win. But if you have a strong third speaker who is able to break down the arguments, then you might have a chance. Okay. Um, I would say many schools they tend to strategize and put their best speaker as the third. It's really up to strategy because you know each other better. But if you ask me, the third speaker is someone who can think creatively, who can think out of the box, and who can think critically. The third speaker is someone who should be well read, who has done a lot of reading. So definitely, you want your third speaker to start with the theme line, give a final comment, and use emotions to highlight key points. That is how you end strong. And a third speaker, someone who's strong, who's critical, is very able to do this. Give final comments. Okay, sorry, use emotions to highlight key points. Okay, so this is something that you definitely need to consider as the third speaker. And I would definitely suggest, if you can think critically, if you know how to use the language well, you know how to use emotions well, then definitely be a third speaker. And you know you are able to summarize all the arguments and show why your arguments or your team arguments are stronger. You can make a very good case. Okay. So thank you guys very much for listening. And this is so we'll now move on to lesson 7. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. And so far, if you have any questions, drop in the chat, in the comment section. Okay, thank you very much.